Hi, I'm Paul Brodie. We're back in the shop. We're going to do a few things. We're going to talk about a few things. Mitch behind the cameras, thank you. Last episode, we worked on the hub, we talked about it, and I didn't know what kind of a hub it was, so I asked the viewers, and the viewers were very helpful. And we determined, I think, pretty well that it's off a Yamaha road racer from the mid-60s. And it's a 250 road race hub. We're going to look at some photos. And the hub was made from 1962 to 1968. And there were 3 models in there, a TD1, TD2, TD3C. And I don't know which one this is, but mid-60s. I got, I think, 6 pictures, 5. And the hub is unpainted. It's just raw. It's not highly polished at all. I did find one which was black, but probably the owner spray painted it. So why I'm mentioning this is because I think the hub was sand cast. Can you see here? I got like a ridge here. It's not really smooth. If this was a die cast, I think that would be a lot smoother. And also what's going on, can you see how this is being shaped by hand? Because that's what fits the air scoop. And the air scoop only goes one way. And that's the way that it goes. Can you see here how it comes around here? That looks like it's being done by hand. So that's pretty interesting that, you know, the Japanese in the 60s, they were still sort of going back and forth. And I don't think they made a lot of these bikes. So it's entirely possible that it could be sand cast. And you can see here, you see, that's not a die cast. It's a little rough there. So I don't know if I should polish the whole thing. That's going to be a lot of work. Or if I should spray paint it. And if I do spray paint it, it would be not black, a gray, sort of the same color as the AERMACCHI frame down here. That's a gray and it sands up very nicely. So if I'm going to paint this at all, this has to be smoothed out. So I just want to see how much work it is and how rough this is. So we'll just do a little test here. Okay, this is the axle that I used on the hub so that I could machine those holes larger. So let's just see what happens here. So you can see it's not super smooth or anything like that. And here's the paint. I'll grab the paint, flat gray. So I think that's going to work. What I'd do is I'd bead blast this. I would spray it with the high fill primer, sand it down nicely, and then give it a shot with this. I thought about the Speedo drive, and there were some comments. When you switch the Speedo drive over to the other side, it's going to run backwards. So I might not have a Speedo drive on this bike, but I'm going to have a really nice brake. What I want to do, I want to machine this. Can you see how it's like, it's being polished and the edges are rounded a bit. I'm going to put this in the lathe. I can only do the one side because if I take the 3-jaw chuck, I can hold it here. It should run fairly true. And then I can take a skim off here. I just want to make it a little bit nicer. It's got a lot of scratches and other marks. So that's going to be a little bit of a machining job. I can't really do this side here unless I would hold it like that. I don't want to do that. So we're just going to settle for one side. This is the larger side anyway. And if I take some good sandpaper and I polish this down a little bit, that'll be fine. I'm going to set my lathe up now. Well, that's shitty. I've got a thing in the way. This is part of the hub. And can you see this? This is stopping the hub. I want to put these jaws all the way inside onto the brake lining. I've done that before. This doesn't work. So I thought I was going to do a little bit of lathe work here. And apparently I'm not. Can you see how that's hitting? See, that's hitting there. And I can't get the chuck inside there. So, oh well, you make a plan, you try it. Didn't work. I guess what I'm going to have to do is just, I'll sand that down nice and smooth. So, okay, false hope. Back to the bench. I got something else we can do in the shop. Here's the mesh for the air scoop. Can you see how it's been fixed? Someone put a patch over there, and I went looking through my supplies and I found a piece of mesh. It's non-magnetic. It must be stainless steel, which is nice because this one is also the same, non-magnetic. And look here on the patch, it's magnetized. So, but I'm not sure how this is held on. It could be solder. So I got a propane torch. I'm going to see if I heat this up a little bit, if the solder melts. If not, I'm going to have to do a little bit of grinding. So it comes out, it gets smoothed a bit. We'll cut this one, and I got some glue. It's from South Africa. It's Pratley steel, really good stuff. And look at that. Why does glue always go down unevenly? Anyway, I think I might have enough here if I squeeze it hard enough. And I don't think it's going to get hard enough to hurt the chrome or anything like that. Ooh. Well, I think I see something melting. It's putting a hole in the mesh. That's what it's doing. But I need to focus on the outside. Oh, look at that. Okay. Okay, so I don't have to be a grinder. Comes out quite nicely, actually. Yeah, they put look at all the solder. They put gobs of it in there. Okay, what I found interesting was that the hub is between 62 and 68, somewhere in that range. And the bike it's going on, my little AERMACCHI, I call that a 65 or 66. So the ages match really quite nicely. Not that that matters, but I got a little bit of a kick out of that. I reached for the Scotch-Brite at first, and it dulled it. If you use a steel wool, it shines it a little bit. So you have to be careful what you reach for. And you see here how it changed color. It's kind of a straw color. When I take steel wool, well, can't see it's coming off, but I guess I got it a little too hot there. I was trying to be careful, but fortunately, that little heat stain is at the bottom, so you don't see it as much. See how it kind of scrunches it, didn't cut cleanly. I went from the other side, and that's okay. Okay, I want to try something here. I got some chrome polish. I wonder if chrome polish would take out a heat stain. I think that works somewhat. It's not quite as noticeable. So while I've been doing this, I've been thinking about what am I going to do about the holes. What I could do is to make a V, or if I try and drill through that, that's probably going to get a bit messy. So I think we'll go for the V, and they'll just get hidden inside. And as long as the screw goes through, then we're okay. Okay, I can work with that. Nicely bent. Actually, if I leave it like that, then I only have to hold it at each end because the metal is pressing down automatically. Oh yeah, look, I got lots. You know, just when I thought I didn't have enough, that's what I did. See how it rolls it up? And then I can use an even smaller one to go up in there if I need it. So I got my wax paper so that the glue doesn't stick from this onto this, because on aluminum, this glue sticks really well. And that'd be a shame to have that stuck on there. So we won't do that. Can you see how much glue I've used? This is just a welding rod, nothing special. And the glue sets up in about 4 or 5 minutes. And if you apply a little bit of heat, like over a baseboard heater, I think it fully hardens in about an hour or something like that. You can file it, you can machine it. You can mold it when it's still almost set. If you take a little bit of lacquer thinner, you can smooth it. You can get a radius. I bought a huge box of it, and I think I'm used it all up. I can't remember which one. Thanks, Mitch. And the screws are going to hold the mesh down anyway when it's mounted, so It's not like it can fall off and go anywhere. Okay, so we'll just leave that there. Doesn't have to go anywhere. I'm going to take off the wheel. We're going to see how the other hub matches in. We want the spoke flanges to be equidistant between the fork legs. I have not had this wheel off for a couple decades. So let's see what happens here. Everything's metric, made in Italy. I think it's an 11. Sometimes Aeromacchi did some strange things. I'm trying not to use adjustable wrenches. That's a 12. So it is, it's an 11, which is odd. What about Whitworth? Look at that. If I was changing a flat on the road, I doubt I'd have all those wrenches with me. Oh, that wasn't very tight. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's the inner cable. That's the inner liner that goes inside the cable. That's what that is. I didn't just add that on. See, it's handy having a jack here because it makes my life easier. No green linings. That's all falling apart now. Okay. So this is a good way to look at the difference in the brake. Let's just come over here for a moment. This is a lot larger. Get extra braking power. There we go. I put this into the middle, more or less. You see what I'm doing. So I get it into the middle, and then I have to measure, and I make spaces here, because that's what holds it in the middle. And then when I lace up the wheel, everything's in the middle. I did order spokes. I phoned up Wheelsmith. I still have an account there after all these years. Spokes are on the way. That's exciting. Okay, so we've done as much as we can on the brake right now. What I want to talk about is the carburetors. I'm going to show you a catalog. In the last couple of weeks, I've been on a hunt, and I finally found what I was looking for last night. My Sudco manual. We're going to talk about carburetors. But while I was looking for it, right beside it, I found one of my Aeromacchi books. This happens to be one of my favorite ones by Mick Walker. I'm the only one who's owned this. Can you see how it's worn? That's from me, looking at this over and over again. So that's a high recommendation of all sorts of stuff in here. Aeromacchi single, Aeromacchi motocross bike. Highly recommended. On the red bike and on the black bike, I'm going to change carburetors. Nobody ever says that a Delodo carb is a fine instrument and we recommend it highly. No one ever says that. So this is what I want to put on it. It's McKinney round slide carburetors. And you can order them from Citco, I believe. I used to have an account with them. And I want to talk about specs a little bit. Years ago in the early 2000s, I was a part of the AERMACCHI e-group, and there was a lot of emailing going on. And we had a member, his name was Ron Lancaster, and he lives in Illinois, and he used to run, is it Illinois Sprints? I think it was Illinois Sprint. I can't remember the name of his company. But anyway, he was very generous in sharing specs for the carburetors. So that's what I want to show you. And you have to remember, this is all sort of ballpark, because there can be a lot of variations what kind of exhaust you run. So if you got a 350 and it's from 69 to 72, you probably want to go with a 30 millimeter carb for the street. If you've got the 74s, 73, 74, that's the electric start motor. It's got larger valves, things like that. You can get away with a 32 millimeter. And if you're running a race bike, you want a 34. These are the specs for if you've got a 250 or a 350. It shows you the needle jet, main jet, pilot jet, and the slide. So this is not a perfect situation. And I think Ron was extremely kind to share all this, because he obviously had to figure it out himself. So, no, his company was called Lancaster Sprints. So on the black bike, because it's an early one, I'll use a 30 millimeter. This red bike will get a 32. So this is a great catalog. And see, there's so many parts you can buy for these McKinney carbs. It's great. All sorts of stuff. So I'll be into this later on today, I think. You know, in this last month, we had quite a few people watching our channel, and we appreciate that. But we know, because we looked up in the stats, that less than half of you have actually subscribed. We're getting really close to the 80,000 subscription level. And if you subscribe in this next week, that would be much appreciated. Mitch and I like coffee, as you know. If you buy us coffee, that helps out a lot. Please tell your friends. It's been fun. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I'm happy with that. Thanks for watching.